Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Barry Farah, Chief Executive Officer of Precocity.
And I'm Carter Bradford. I'm the Vice President of Consulting Services at Precocity.
We're going to spend a few minutes answering some of the frequently asked questions related to Precocity's big data accelerator called ZipTie. And Carter, as we get started here, first of all, what is big data?
So big data is a term that's somewhat nebulous in the industry right now. It means different things to different people, but the typical definition that people will use is that it's a large volume of data. It's a large variety of data, so things that we typically weren't able to process, things like video, things like images, or unstructured log data now become essential to doing some of the things that big data promises to be able to do. And then also the velocity, so the rate at which this data is coming in. All of those factors, when you got a combination of all three, it tends to be classified as big data. So to give one really concrete example, one of the most obvious ways is by personalizing experiences and interactions with a company's customers. This is very common in the retail space. If you think something like Amazon.com, where you're looking at a product and you get a list of products down below that says things you might also like. This is all done using big data techniques. So it's understanding your behavior both online and, if applicable, in store to understand more about you and try to figure out what products you might like to see, might ultimately appeal to you. The interesting thing is it's also taking into account the behavior of other people that are like you, that might have similar browsing behavior or similar purchase behavior. And the combination of all that is ultimately what produces this sort of one-on-one recommendation, which is a key factor in driving incremental revenue.
So volume, velocity, and variety. Makes for big data. Okay, so we've been serving clients for years in sort of leading in a leading edge way in this area. What is the impetus behind your brainchild, ZipTie?
So I love technology, but more than that, I love the use of technology to solve business problems. And what I've seen in the area of big data, which happens to be one of the hottest areas and most promising areas in the technology landscape these days, is the ability to solve problems in a way that 10 years ago was not even possible. Through the use of higher volumes of data, through the use of advanced mathematical techniques, we can do things to help optimize a business, like get incremental revenue, drive incremental revenue. We can optimize operational processes to reduce costs in ways that were never possible prior.
So ZipTie does what for the customer? They're contemplating a big data project. They're thinking of doing something related to big data that they haven't done before. How does that help?
So ZipTie is the culmination of years of experience in the big data space. It's a combination of the lessons that we've learned both from a technical perspective and a process perspective. So we've tried to take the best in breed technologies, combine them in a way that's cloud optimized. We've built processes and methodologies around that technology that allows us to ultimately decrease the time to value in a typical big data solution. Based on our experience, a typical engagement could save somewhere between 2 to 8 months on an initial big data implementation, depending on the client's team size.
So it's speed to market and reduces risk.
Correct.
Very good. So is there an extra cost to implementing with ZipTie over and above if you just hired us as consultants to come in and implement a big data project for you?
No, ZipTie is something that we've developed over the course of dozens of years of experience in the big data space, and in conjunction with internal R&D investments. It's something that we bring with us to a consulting engagement and offer to our clients as part of our service offering.
If I implement a ZipTie type of a solution, how could that help increase revenue?
So one particular client, we were able to implement a big data solution at cost. The cost was about $3 million the net return on their investment was $35 million in recurring incremental annual revenue.
So we're providing the client with maybe a dozen decades of expertise, collapsing that into a easy to implement module. They're up and running out the gate, and then we can get right into solving their specific problem.
Absolutely, and one of the things that we've seen is that just getting a big data environment set up to the point where it's actually ready to begin building the business use cases on top of can be daunting and time consuming. So we've eliminated that from the equation. We can come in and within a day have an environment set up in the cloud for the customer to start actually implementing the things that are going to truly add value to their business without worrying about the nuts and bolts of getting a complicated big data environment set up. In addition, we've also seen some customers might have the need to use a specific solution or might have certain technology constraints that we have to respect. So the modularity of ZipTie really helps us create a solution that can be customized and tailored if necessary for each particular customer.
Thank you very much for taking your valuable time to explore Precocity's big data accelerator called ZipTie. We appreciate that. If you've got any questions at all, please let us know and we'd be delighted to visit with you.